Sandrone's full kit is out from the 6.7 beta, and honestly, it's one of the most interesting and creative kits Genshin Impact has released in a very long time. She's not a simple hypercarry, she's not a basic support, she's something genuinely different that rewards players who actually engage with her mechanics. So in this video, we're doing a complete kit breakdown. Everything she does, how she plays, what her constellations add, and then at the end, we're deciding whether you should actually pull for her. Let's get into it. Quick note before we start, 6.7 beta is active and changes are still coming. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates to her kit as beta progresses. I cover every meaningful change immediately. Now let's talk about Sandrone. 6.6 banners are here, and Loot Bar dropped a special code for 5% off. Service availability is now more region-specific, so just double-check the supported currencies on screen before topping up. Loot Bar also offers discounted game keys, with savings of up to 80%. Top-ups process in seconds, payments go through secure systems, and there's 24/7 professional support if anything comes up. Use this code at checkout. Link is in the description. Before we get into the actual mechanics, let me talk about what makes Sandrone special as a character concept, because understanding the theme helps everything click. Sandrone is Fatui Harbinger number 7, the marionette. Her entire identity is built around the contrast between this refined, elegant lady aesthetic and the absolutely massive automaton puppet she controls called Fageo. And her kit reflects that duality perfectly. You, as the player, are managing both Sandrone herself and Fageo simultaneously. Her playstyle is essentially a puppet master, managing a giant mechanical companion. That's the fantasy, and the kit delivers it. She's Cryo, and her kit is centered around a modified version of Superconduct, a reaction that has been one of the weakest in the game since launch, and completely reinventing it into something called Stella Superconduct. That transformation of a neglected reaction into a core damage identity is actually a really bold design choice, and it's one of the most interesting things about this character. Let's go through the kit properly, starting with her attacks. Her normal attack is a standard 3-hit combo using bladed weapons made from what the game calls mathematical threads. Very on-brand for her character. The normal attacks are fine, but they're not the focus. The real meat of her attack gameplay is the charged attack, and this is where things get interesting. When you use a charged attack, Sandrone summons Fageo into what's called calculation mode. In this mode, Fageo does suppressive fire and periodically fires something called condensation rays. These are AoE cryo damage hits that are the primary damage source of her kit. But here's the key thing. Those condensation rays transform into Stella Superconduct reaction damage when Sandrone is in her powered-up radiant state. And the multiplier difference between a regular condensation ray and a Stella Superconduct condensation ray is enormous. Now, Fageo has its own resource system called calculation power, which runs from 0 to 100. While Fageo is in calculation mode, it steadily builds power. Firing condensation rays builds it faster. When it hits 100, Fageo enters Overclock mode. Attacks get slower, but hit harder, and you cannot re-enter calculation mode until that power drains back below 50. When Sandrone is off-field, Fageo's power drains 3 times faster than normal, and her elemental skill is the main tool for draining power on purpose when you need to reset the cycle. So right away, you have this interesting resource loop. Build calculation power. Through charged attacks and condensation rays, manage the overclock threshold, use the skill to drain it back down when needed, and keep the cycle going. It's engaging without being overwhelming once you understand the rhythm. The elemental skill is one of my favorite things about this kit. When you activate it, Sandrone jumps onto a fancy hovering tea party device, very elegant, very on theme, and glides for 6 seconds. You can steer during the glide, and tapping sprint gives you a high-speed hover that costs stamina. It's genuinely fun mobility. At the start of the glide, a prismatic resonance cannon fires 2 prism shells at enemies. The first is normal cryo damage. The second, And this is the important one, becomes Stella Superconduct reaction damage if Sandrone is in the radiant state, so the skill does double duty as both a damage tool and a mobility option. But the most important function of the skill for her rotation is power management. On cast, it immediately reduces Fageo's calculation power by 40, and while you're gliding, it continues draining power at 10 per 0.1 seconds. This is your main reset tool. When Fageo hits overclock and you need to bring power back below 50 to re-enter calculation mode, you use the skill to drain it down and get back into the productive part of the cycle. The 6-second glide also means she has exceptional natural mobility during her rotation, which feels great in combat. The burst is phenomenon formula all principles proven, a big AoE nuke where Sandrone summons multiple prismatic resonance cannons to bombard an area before finishing with a sub-zero convergence beam. The beam is the payoff. Its damage scales with something called improved tactics stacks, which we'll get to in the passives. In the radiant state, the beam becomes Stella Superconduct reaction damage, and if you've stacked 10 improved tactics before using it, the beam gets a 50% damage bonus on top of everything else. So the burst is not just a rotation filler, it's the reward for managing her resource cycle correctly throughout the rotation. Now the passives are where Sandrone's kit goes from interesting to genuinely complex and impressive. Her utility passive is the foundation of everything. It states that Party Superconduct becomes Stella Superconduct, so any Electro-Cryo Superconduct reaction that happens in her team gets converted into this new enhanced version. On top of that, triggering Stella Superconduct creates a stellar glow domain on the field, and while that domain is active, Sandrone enters the Radiance Stella Superconduct state, the powered-up mode that transforms all of her kit from good to exceptional. There's also an ATK scaling component here. For every 100 ATK, her party's Stella Superconduct base damage increases by 0.7%, up to a maximum of 14%. So building ATK on Sandrone directly increases the damage of the reaction for everyone in her team, which creates a clean and satisfying scaling incentive. Her first Ascension passive is the one that introduces improved tactics stacks and ties directly into the burst damage. In the Radiant state, her skill's second Prism Shell deals 400% damage and reduces more calculation power if Fageo is above 50 power. Every 10 power reduced through this process generates one improved tactics stack, up to a maximum of 10 stacks lasting 60 seconds. And then those stacks get consumed by the burst to increase the beam damage by 5% per stack. So a full 10 stacks gives you that 50% beam damage bonus I mentioned earlier. The second Ascension passive is an ATK to Elemental Mastery conversion. Every 100 ATK gives 8 Elemental Mastery, up to a maximum of 160 EM. This is a meaningful conversion because Stella Superconduct is a reaction and EM scales reaction damage significantly. So building ATK on Sandrone serves triple duty. It increases her personal damage, it increases the party's Stella Superconduct base damage through the utility passive, and it converts into EM that further scales the reaction multipliers. It's elegant, synergistic design. Let me run through the constellations because they're worth knowing even if you're only planning C0. C1 makes calculation power build 50% slower, giving you more time in the productive phase of the resource cycle, and adds 30% Stella Superconduct damage for the whole party. That team-wide damage bonus at C1 is very good value and makes her feel noticeably stronger right away. C2 adds massive ATK, scaling to the condensation rays, 100% flat ATK, plus stacking 40% ATK bonuses up to 3 stacks. This is the big power spike constellation that significantly elevates her personal damage ceiling. If you're planning to invest beyond C0, C2 is the clear stopping point. C3 and C5 are normal attack +3 and burst +3 respectively, standard middling constellations. C4 adds a coordinated prismatic cannon hit every time Stella Superconduct triggers. 125% ATK as Stella damage with a 4-second ICD. Extra damage on every reaction trigger is consistent value throughout any fight. C6 is genuinely impressive. After the third condensation ray, Fageo switches to a clustered condensation ray, which is a massive multi-hit AoE version. In the radiant state, it becomes an even more powerful Stella Superconduct version. And on top of that, C6 adds 20% to all Stella Superconduct damage. At C6, she becomes a serious damage dealer and her reaction damage ceiling becomes very high. Let me quickly summarize the rotation so it feels clear rather than abstract. You start by using the skill to glide in, which fires those 2 prism shells and begins managing Fageo's power. Then you use charged attacks to get Fageo into calculation mode and start building power through condensation rays. Your Electro teammate is triggering Superconduct, which becomes Stella Superconduct, which creates the stellar glow domain, which puts Sandrone into the radiant state. Once in radiance, every condensation ray from your charged attacks becomes Stella Superconduct damage. You're stacking improved tactics through the skill's power drain mechanic. When Fageo approaches Overclock, you use the skill to drain it back down. You repeat this cycle, and when you have good improved tactics stacks built up, you use the burst for the massive Stella Superconduct beam payoff. It's more involved than most Genshin carries, but it's not overwhelming. The systems have a natural rhythm that clicks once you understand what each piece is for. Best team archetype is a hyper carry or quick swap setup, with strong Electro applicators providing consistent Stella Superconduct triggers alongside a shielder to protect her during charged attacks. Raiden, Fischl, Yai Miko are all strong Electro partners. The Superconduct artifact, set from 6.6 that gives 40% Superconduct reaction damage, is clearly her best in slot, and the timing of it dropping 1 patch early was obviously deliberate pre-farming preparation. Okay, the question that matters. Should you pull for Sandrone? If you are a Fatui Harbinger collector or someone who has been emotionally invested in this character since her boss fight, this is your moment, and the answer is just yes. The kit is genuinely good, the design is spectacular, and she has the kind of narrative weight as a Harbinger that makes her a character you'll be playing story content with for a long time. Pull. If you care about unique and creative gameplay, Sandrone is one of the more mechanically interesting characters Genshin has released in a long time. The puppet management, the resource cycle, the reaction system she enables, this is not a boring hypercarry. If that kind of engaged gameplay appeals to you, absolutely pull. If you're purely chasing the simplest meta option, she requires more engagement than a straightforward carry, and her best teams depend on having good Electro characters already built. If your Electro roster is weak and you're not willing to invest in building around her, her damage ceiling will feel lower than it should be until better Snezhnayan supports arrive. If you're a lower resource player saving for Snezhnayan Archons and major 7.0 characters, this might genuinely be a patch to save through depending on your priorities. She's strong, but she's not a must-have for everyone. My overall take, she's one of the most creative and fun-looking kits in recent Genshin history. The Stella Superconduct system is exciting, the puppet gameplay is distinctive, and the design and lore are exceptional. If any part of this kit makes you excited, pull her. If you're purely optimizing for simplicity or raw damage per investment, wait for beta to finish and make a more informed decision. Beta is still ongoing and numbers will change. I'll cover every meaningful update as it drops. That's the complete Sandrone kit breakdown and pull analysis. Subscribe so you don't miss any beta updates as the kit gets refined. Leave a like if this was useful. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.